Hello, this is Dirk from Boris Effects, and responding to a post on the Creative Cow forum from Daniel Skrabowski asking about how to do something like this with BCC particle array. And so I'm going to record a quick movie sort of showing how this is achieved. And the key here is control maps. If you wanted to look at the relevant part of the doc, here under control maps, it talks a bit about using the graph part of the control map, but then beyond that, this image is, driving this. But there's a bunch of different kinds of things you can do with control maps, and they aren't nearly all illustrated there, it's true. So here I have BCC particle array 3D, and it's arranged as a, a grid array. And if I go to two views here and I select my camera, you see what we have here. That's the view, and this is just an alternate view to give you an idea that it's a 3D array. And if I turn on my checkerboard there, you see that right now just the array is showing. So I'm going to hide that for a second. And if I turn on this this layer, this happens to be a pre-comp. I like to, when creating layer maps, it's good to start something with a comp size layer. So what I did was I made a comp that's the same size as this comp, and I put my text in it, and then that's what we have here. So those numbers, which I'm actually going to disable, but we're going to reference those as a control map. So back to particle array 3D, and if I scroll down here, this group called control maps. Underneath here is a bunch of stuff. There's actually 5 control maps available. So by default, it's like this. It's not used. So if I set the control map to do opacity, there's various things you can do. One is this layer control. If I choose my numbers, then right away it's doing that. So if I move this around, you get an idea. But there's actually a bunch of things that it can do. So besides the layer control, you actually disable layer control. This graph, so if I say x-axis and we look at the graph here, actually let me just get out of my split view here. So if I do this, you see, so now an opacity fade is occurring that way, again, so just to see. And you can choose what axis it acts on. And if you, I could make something really much more abrupt by drawing in here to cut it off. Anyway, so you can use the graph and the layer control at the same time. So that's kind of control maps, but I'll give you an idea. Excuse me. So let's go back to numbers. And right now it's affecting opacity, which is how that image from the documentation was created. But it can create it can affect a bunch of different aspects of the particle array. So if I set it to unused, and if I go up here and turn on some dispersion, which right now, it's actually just set to disperse in Z. X and Y are turned all the way down. So if I do my little scrub, you see it. So it's just some of the particles are shooting forward and backward. And if I go down here, and I'm going to set to disperse. So now you see, we go off axis again. You can see how they're just shooting out where the layers are, or where the numbers are rather. And if I crank this up more, it can go shooting out more. And then, so besides in the control map, having the graph control, which again, we can lay that effect on top of that and fade that effect. And then having the layer control, you also have this really useful wipe. So let me just go back here. So there you see, I can actually progressively wipe that effect on. So I have it does it even go, no, it doesn't go negative, but you can choose how smooth, so now it'll kind of abruptly displace those over time. So anyway, hopefully that answers your question. The answer to how that's done is with control maps. That's how you would make the array seem to assume the shape of another layer. So, it can use the alpha or luma information from a map layer to affect all kinds of attributes of the particle array.